I'm about to feed him to the sharks right now.
Get him hype right now.
Yeah. You know the ground is up. Yeah. Everybody that trains, you know the game.
Yeah.
So let's get it. Slap it up, bump it, and roll.
Hey.
Yeah, that's the way that it goes.
Aye.
Ain't no better way to better yourself in this game. You're feeling the growth.
That's real.
That's time on the mat. We put in the work. Believe it ain't easy, I know. But we train for the love of the game, the love of the art. Now slap it up, bump it, let's roll.
Let's roll. Let's roll. Let's roll. Let's roll.
Welcome to episode 42 of the BJJ Campaign podcast. My name is Jeff Boone. I'm an A3 blue belt, 2 stripes.
Phil Coors, A2 blue belt, 1 stripe.
And Philly, you had a competition this past weekend, right?
Correct.
How did you do?
Mediocre. Not great. Not terrible, but my biggest problem with it, again, is it comes back to the things I was afraid I was going to struggle with were exactly that. And it's the same things that I've been trying to work on for a while and haven't been active enough in fixing them.
So, like, what things were you working on that you feel need improvement?
So I've been working on getting better on top. And in order to get on top, I need to either take the person down or I need to sweep them. Not good at either of those. So I've been trying to get better. What I have always struggled with is getting in the closed guard and just staying there. And I feel bad for people who were watching my matches because that's all that it was. I mean, they were just in the closed guard. And I was attacking with the most conservative attack possible and just not opening up anything. And that's totally against what everybody tells you to do. So, in a way, luckily for me, it's a simple fix. It's just not easy. So, I mean, I know exactly what I need to do. But the problem is I still need to go out there and just execute and do it. I have a couple things in mind that I want to start doing to try to remedy some of these problems. One that, starting soon, we're going to be doing privates covering these fundamental techniques, which is pretty much exclusively all the classes I've been going to the last couple months is all fundamental stuff. And it's helped a lot for sure, but I still want to do some of the private stuff and just get that extra correction because it's never right. It could always use that next step. So definitely looking forward to that. Specifically the scissor sweep, lesson number 1.
And for the lesson number 1. And it is lesson number 1, isn't it? And for the audience, Phil says he did okay. He did well. He avenged 1 loss that he had at white belt from a competitor, and also went 2-2, entered 2 divisions, the adult in his weight class and the adult over 30. And he's right. We all were on the sidelines saying, for the love of God, get out of the collar and sweep them.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
No, it didn't. So another thing that I want to incorporate into my training, and I'm going to be doing it with you for sure, and then other people I'm going to talk to about, if they're cool with it, whatever, but I'm going to start filming my training. That was something Trey mentioned.
Who mentioned it?
Trey Base.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He did in the black belt.
I'm not taking credit for this idea. It's his. But watching my competition, nothing drives home what I'm doing wrong like 18 minutes of me in the closed guard. That's what it is. It's 18 minutes of me not taking somebody down, 18 minutes of me safely attacking, not trusting anything that I've learned over the course of almost 2 years, and like 18 minutes of me, not sweeping and getting on top, or even trying. I did a couple. Those are the attempts I talk about when I say I kind of halfway go for it. That's it. If it's not like immediate success, if there's any resistance, it's back to the safety zone.
And Professor Steve Hall said it to you, I think, too,
did.
is that if you don't believe in the move that you're going to do, then your opponent certainly is not.
It's 100% correct.
Yeah.
It's you know, and it's so frustrating because it's one of those things that you know, and I still I know it and I still don't address it yet. But again, that's why I want to film it, because there's, I mean, that you want to motivate yourself. You just watch yourself like failing by not even trying, essentially. You know, I was trying very hard, obviously. Like I was,
Sure.
For doing nothing, I was exceptionally sore. You know, like, you know, and I'll like to make fun of myself, but that's kind of how I see it. You know, I wasn't really doing a whole lot, and I was super sore, so that's even more embarrassing.
And for the audience, we'll post the matches, Phil's matches. Can we do that on the group page?
Yeah, if they want. I mean, I just
Yeah, well, we might as well. I mean,
feel bad for people watching, but yeah, we can put them up.
you know, be able to close your eyes for whenever you see him get in the collar.
If you can't sleep, if you can't fall asleep, just turn these on.
And you know, it takes you back to, I think, and I'm paraphrasing, something that John said, and it actually was in his self-defense curriculum, whenever we're doing that standing self-defense on the arms over, or the arm over grabbed from the back, and you know, he says fake one way and go the other, and the best way to fake one way is to actually try going that way.
Yeah. It's called bear hug.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, the most elaborate name for
I
that.
don't know why.
The rear bear hug, but yeah.
Yeah.
So
Over the arms.
under the arms is a normal hug.
That's right.
So anyway, but yeah, no, but you have to go for it. Like, in order for the counter to their defense to work, you know, they have to defend. And
Yeah.
if you're not doing it, they're not going to defend. But yeah, so I want to start recording myself, because I think, number one, if I could see myself, that's part of the reason I like competing, right? I go back and I watch my competition videos from 6 months ago, and I'm like, all right, that's a totally different person. I didn't even know how to do X, Y, or Z 6 months ago. And that's always true. But I think I get in the habit of repeating mistakes and getting comfortable repeating them. And I think if I can watch it and see what happens, I will personally be able to correct mistakes faster, as well as, I mean, that is, for me, a form of like almost self-punishment, like watching those videos and just being disappointed in myself for not even trying, you know? Like, the last match the guy didn't, like, I think it was like an ankle pick and kind of fell into an ankle lock. I mean, he's just better, you know? I can live with that.
Sure.
Me losing by not trying is real frustrating for me. It bothers me a lot, you know? The guy who's better, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, that's always gonna happen. But
And I don't think I really helped with that guy, with you, whenever I said, this guy likes the ankle locks.
Yeah.
Before you went on the mat, and I was like, that was probably a stupid thing to say.
I mean, it wasn't gonna change any of the approach.
Yeah, you're right.
I went out there for all the matches. I did not pull guard immediately. I was hoping somebody would pull guard on me, and the only one, he didn't even really pull. What did he do when he did the ankle lock? It's not really pulling guard. Kind of off in it. I don't even know how to explain it. Nobody just immediately pulled guard for me to start trying to pass, is what I was hoping for.
And let's talk a little bit about mind games with your opponents. Because Phil
It was interesting.
It was very interesting. Phil had one opponent that went out there and had his wrestling shoes on in the gi.
Yeah.
And immediately Phil's thinking, oh, this guy's a wrestler. He's going to try to take me down.
Yeah.
Never tried one takedown.
Nothing. And I was like, you know, I'm like, all right, I got to watch this. Somebody like, you know, Garrett or something, who's a fantastic wrestler, going to do a fireman's carry me, throw me over his shoulders. And I'm like, you know, here we go. And match starts and it's been like 30 seconds. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, why are you messing with me right now? So that was super weird. And it's a strategy I'm going to be using. I'm going to walk out with wrestling shoes next time. I got the ears. I'll have the wrestling shoes and no takedowns. So it'll be a full-blown attack on the mind.
But, however, you might find that people will pull guard more on you whenever you do that.
Maybe that was my whole plan this whole time. So Biggest thing I learned.
No, it was a good competition. Just to mention, we had a ton of people from the team compete. All did really well. There's a lot of support from all of our teammates. And if you're out there and you have teammates that are competing, go out and watch. Even if you don't want to compete, I didn't compete.
Right.
Even if you don't want to compete, A, it's fun to watch.
Yeah.
And B, you kind of see the trends in what's going on now. Not that in the gi it really there's much that really trends differently, but you get to kind of see what other people's games are like and take that back and work on things that maybe you see it might be deficits in your game for what people are trying. So yeah, go out and support your teammates. Whenever it comes to that, I know we had a lot of support there from all.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, my 4 matches were at the same time everybody else were, so I missed everybody's matches. That kind of stinks, but other than that, it was a fun day.
It does.
The other takeaway from the competition for myself is the issue of my cardio, of being, just wiped. Again, not really doing a whole lot, but still being wiped out. And I think half of that is still that competition mindset that I've struggled with since the very first one, because even after the first match where I was in control positionally and emotionally, I was fine. I was calm the entire time.
You were.
But the match was still over, and after the 5 minutes, my hand was still, it was like I was carrying 100-pound weight in my right arm without really doing much. I don't know how much of that I'll ever be able to get past. Gonna continue to work on staying calm and everything, but I think once that competition starts, I just grip different. I grip a lot harder for whatever reason, and I'm not able to adjust it or control it or whatever. But after the second match, I was very tired, and then I never got it back. I had 5-10 minutes maybe in between. That wasn't enough. And I do train quite a bit, but I've never trained cardio outside, and I've never trained with cardio as a focus.
Right.
I've always trained the opposite, which is, this is where I conserve energy. I'm in a bad spot. He's going to work for a second. I'm going to try to time it, save my energy or whatever, instead of trying to just fight, get back on top, right? Or get out, whatever the situation is. So that's, again, something I want to definitely going to try to incorporate with you, where I can go, close to 100% without it really mattering, and other people that I'll talk to about, upping the intensity on that, to make sure I can maintain that pace. And also there's now a competition class that's designed for that, because I personally did notice he would, the Joey running the class would push the pace, and I would, not really push myself as hard as I could. And, a little bit of that is everybody's always going to be harder on themselves than everybody else. But, it's, what's the point in not doing that, I guess? I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it was it your third match too? Especially there at the end of your third match where you scrambled, you had to get a takedown in order to tie the match, and you did.
That was the second one.
Was it the second match?
Yeah.
Second match, okay.
But even by that point, I was very tired.
Okay. Yeah, that takes a lot. That shot and following up on that shot, you guys were a mat and a half over, whenever you got the takedown, and so yeah, that takes a lot of energy. That wrestling game, and what I would say too is, I know you're putting in the road miles, right, on that, for the running, but I'd also say look at other things like wrestling, right? Wrestling's a different cardio.
Yeah, and that's, I think, in my head, along the same lines of me just pushing it through the whole roll. There's so many times in the roll that that's why I love closed guard. I'm not going to say I'm relaxing, but that's my rest position too.
Sure.
That's where I get to where I can dictate the pace basically and the spacing and everything. It's part of the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, and to folks, for you there listening, that's the right approach to take whenever you're going to go 100% with your partner. Make sure they know that, and if they're injured or whatever, then obviously you're not going to go 100%.
Right. There's certain people and there's certain scenarios.
Sure.
So, again, it's not like I'm going to just start off the gate and be ready to roll hard for an hour, because that's not how I train.
Mm-hmm.
But there's certain people that I can do that with, and there's a class, the competition class, that's what that's there for. So again, it's the same thing with the sweeps. The cardio, the answer is simple. It's just not easy. And again, it's just going to take going and doing it and focusing on that.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Before your first match, how long before your first match did you warm up, and what type of warm up did you do?
I sat on my feet to stretch my knees, and then I rocked my hips side to side for about a minute while I was talking to somebody.
Okay. Well, that may be something too that you want to consider, because a lot of times in wrestling in particular, whenever I did that, I always got up a good sweat before I did it, because it kind of gets that lactic acid production out of your system, that first burst of that fight or flight kind of thing. If you work, you notice Garrett, he warms up hard. That's from his time wrestling. I mean, that's what.
So is that for getting your loose, like a stretching thing, or is that for not getting tired thing?
It's for not getting tired.
Okay.
And the theory is, and I don't know the science behind the theory, but the theory is, if you get tired first, by working up a good sweat, then you kind of get that lactic acid production started, and you get that adrenaline dump kind of mitigated from the very start, so that whenever you actually go out on the mat, it's not as bad.
Okay.
So it's something to consider.
Yeah.
I think that it will help. And my last competition, I did the warm up just like that before, and had a really good sweat, and had zero. I mean, that was the way I should be doing it.
Okay.
And I'm not saying everyone should be. I'm just saying that's what works for me.
And I think we talked last time too about how I don't want the trigger to get hyped up or anything like that, and I want to stay focused. And that's part of the reason I try to stay away from that, is to try to keep everything as calm as possible. And that was something else I was questioning afterwards too. Should I try to get hyped up? Should I try to get a lot more aggressive mentally beforehand? Would that change anything?
So slapping your chest and jumping up and down, doing,
clearly jumping up and bringing my knees above my head and doing backflips and pounding the floor, but just obviously keeping it as reasonable as possible. Things like that, obviously. Screaming and
Diego Sanchez coming into the ring of the UFC.
Yeah. But no, but maybe just trying not the super calm approach and see what happens. But I don't know. For me, it's always, I feel when I'm at my best, I'm calm and under control. It's not I can't really think of a time where I'm like, oh yeah, I went out and I just exploded and it was amazing and everything went smooth after that. It's usually calm, controlled, doing what I should be doing. That's when it's working. So that's why I personally try to stay away from the hype angle, which I think I've just talked myself out of, because that's desperation. The reason I got the takedown is that's a football tackle. I have no other choice. I have no time.
So you turned your dial up.
And
it worked
in that instance, but that's not I don't believe that should be the plan. I should just be better at jiu-jitsu than the other person.
And I think everyone's very individual when it comes to the competition thing. And before my last competition, we talked about it. I did the deep meditation, and we talked about that dial with a number from 0 to 10, and
yes.
I controlled my emotion with that dial. And before the match, I had that dial at 3, right in my mind.
Yeah.
And then once once I actually stepped on the mat, and that was the cue that we talked about, right? Is my cue to change that dial, to change that setting in my mind for competition was as soon as my sandals came off and I stepped on that mat, that dial went up to 7. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not 10. We're not redlining.
Right.
It's just on that edge of that. So again, it worked for me. You know, I don't know that it works for everybody. And
well, just now that you're saying that, I can remember going into that third match, and then especially the fourth match. Before the match, and if I'm ready to walk out, and the only thing I'm thinking is I need a rest. I mean, that's not good, and I need to figure out a way to refocus. But that's more in my head than, again, back to that's how my training needs. That's the direction I need to take it for myself. You know?
Yeah.
I need to. It's simple, not easy, like a lot of things.
Yep. You're right. And so another anomaly that we witnessed there at the competition was the no-gi matches. There was a lot of bare-chested men in the no-gi matches. What's your feeling on that?
So I just like the gi, man. So it's one of the reasons why.
You picture that Will Ferrell whenever he was playing basketball.
Is that a long cane poly or something?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, man. I'm kind of on the fence about that. You know, I don't know that I'm really on the fence. I feel like you should ask the person that you're going against, hey, is it cool if I wear no shirt? I mean, I don't know.
Like, what are they going to grab on a rash guard?
Maybe.
Or you just want to be as slippery as possible.
Maybe. That may be a strategy, right? You know, they may have got all sweaty before the match. Yeah. Lube yourself up before you go out there.
Yeah, I don't know. I've yet to do a no-gi match. But yeah, it's so slippery already. I don't know. The no shirt though, that's it's probably gonna get in the other person's head though. Because like immediately you're gonna be like, this guy's not wearing a shirt, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and by the way, his physique's better than mine.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, obviously, if you're no shirting it out there, except for the one guy who did actually look like the guy from that movie with the beer gut and everything else that was no shirt. That was very interesting.
Yeah, it takes a lot of confidence.
A lot of confidence. I don't have that much confidence, Phil. Don't know if I want it.
It's a good point. Yeah, no, it's not for me.
So, transitioning from no shirt, no gi. As you know, recently, my nephew, who's recently moved down, he's kind of dipped his toes in the water of Jiu-Jitsu, and we were talking last night, and he was asking, hey, should I do more no-gi or more gi? And just as a background, he's a Division I wrestler.
Should he do more no-gi or gi?
Right. That's the question.
And he's a Division I wrestler.
Yeah.
You should probably focus on no-gi. Obviously, he's lacking in that area. That would probably give him the most benefit. He'd learn the most, being where he's in the top 1% in the world. And really get up to that top 0.5%.
Yeah, no. It's funny, and kind of the conversation that we had, and that is that you know, everything, like John says, everything that you learn in the gi, the concepts, they all transfer to no gi. It's just, you know, you don't have as many options. So you've got less gripping, that sort of thing. You know, you're going to be better at defending because it's easier to get out of things in no gi than it is to get out of submissions in gi.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, I think you know, just the advice there is that hey, no gi is fun. If your academy offers no gi and gi, do them both. You know, and I don't know if it's in general or if it's just our academy, but probably in general. There's probably more gi trainings, I would guess, at academies than there are no gi trainings, unless you specialize in no gi or you're a 10th Planet.
Yeah, I would imagine, I'm going to make this up, but I would imagine most competition-based schools and most MMA type places are going to be your no-gi application,
Specialist,
and
yeah.
most self-defense based places are going to focus in the gi and probably offer both.
Yeah, agreed.
That's just a feeling I get based off of who I seem to meet from where. So I have a friend that trains with us now that came from a striking no-gi based, program for a
Sure.
couple years first, and he likes the gi now, but he's talked to me. He's like, when I first came here, I didn't like it. I'm trying to move and people are just grabbing my sleeves and stuff. He's like, it's annoying,
Yeah.
and it's not realistic if you approach it from like a street application.
Sure.
If you're not wearing sleeves, you're not going to hold your sleeve, obviously. But I think both have their different perks and both are good for different things. I prefer the gi, but I also prefer things that I do more. I train in the gi 4 times a week, and no gi is is offered twice a week, and it's just hasn't been my focus because I was going to compete with the gi on.
Sure.
So it's not like I don't enjoy doing it. Whenever I'm rolling no gi, it's still fun. It's just different. I'm definitely not comfortable doing it because I don't have a collar, I don't have a sleeve, I don't have anything that I've made any grips off of in the past. Even the initial grips when I'm standing, mine are always grabbed at something.
Sure.
It's rarely the collar tie. on the
Yeah.
head.
Sure.
Almost called it a necktie. It's rarely to actually grab the head.
Yeah.
Or actually grab a wrist. So it's all different, but I think they're both, they both have their appeal. Even watching high level competition stuff, they're a little bit different, but they're both interesting.
Yeah. Totally agree. And one other question, getting back to the competition, did you cut weight for the competition?
No, I didn't.
You were actually on the low end of the spectrum, weren't you?
Yeah, if I was gonna cut weight, I would have. It turned out only needed to cut like 3 pounds, which, my diet going into that was on point. Gallons of ice cream, lots of cookies, and I weighed in at 152.4.
For the 160 division.
Yeah, so I was good.
Yeah.
I unfortunately didn't gain the weight I was hoping to, but anyway, most of that's been cut back the last couple of weeks. That wasn't really my diet going in, but if I would have cut back or tried to cut weight a couple pounds, but I'm not really into it for that reason. So I just am kind of always going to go at my natural weight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do it.
So I think that's a really good point, especially for those that are considering competing for the first time. They might want to cut weight. If you plan your first match, 6 months down the road, and you see that you've got to lose 20 pounds, right? Maybe you're overweight. You're not. It's not you.
To me, that's a little different. If you just want to, if your life goal is to lose weight,
right?
I 100% support that. But if mine is more, I'm already at a healthy weight. I would like to gain weight.
Right.
Long term, I'd like to be a little bit bigger than I am. But if you were trying to lose weight, competition focused training, that is a great way to go about it. That I'm totally on board with.
Yeah, agreed. And I got some great advice before my first tournament a couple years ago, and that was from Lee, one of the black belts at the headquarters for Fight to Win, and I asked him. I said, "Do you think I should cut weight?" And it wasn't that much weight. It was only around, I don't know. I think it was 10 or 12 pounds,
Somewhere in the ballpark.
something like that. And I had a couple weeks to do it and all that stuff. And I cut weight before from wrestling and all that good stuff. So, I did it, but the thing was, I did it, and then I also did the absolute division, of which I was going up against the guy who was in heavyweight anyway. So,
Right.
what really was the point behind it, other than what you said? I wanted to get down to that 215 and have maintained that. Actually, lost a little bit more from that, and eventually probably want to get down to 205. But I think there's no right answer, but I do know that this is the wrong answer. And that is, if you're trying to lose 15 pounds of water weight in the last 2 days before a competition, especially if you have to weigh in the day of the competition, that's a horrible idea.
Yeah.
You know?
It's obvious. I mean, I know they're super concerned about it with MMA stuff, with the shots to the head when you're dehydrated and everything.
Sure.
But even, I don't know, there's not really money on the line, you know? So
Right.
It's
Right.
not that.
You're actually paying money to do that.
Yeah, it's not that important, I guess.
No.
Grand scheme of things. And I don't know, for me personally, it's just like it's all this extra stuff. And I always kind of come back to like the jiu-jitsu should be better. When I train every day in the gym, there's maybe 1 or 2 people who are smaller than me. It's not unusual. Like jiu-jitsu should just...
Unless it's the kids class.
Yes, then
You're
I'm in the
smart.
top, 10%. But if I just get better, it's going to take care of itself. It's the same thing. Like, I'm interested in trying to get stronger, but like realistically, I don't enjoy doing that. I'm going to have a lot more success by just trying to get better at jiu-jitsu first, and then, slowly working on trying to get stronger long term. But I'm, maybe if I just wasn't so bad, I would do a lot better in the first place. Strength isn't the immediate answer, and that's kind of why I don't think size is the differential if you're just going down like 10 pounds or something like that. I don't know.
Thought just popped into my head. You mentioned ice cream and cookies before the competition. Do you think maybe your cardio might be helped out?
Drop it. We've moved on. Drop it.
We haven't really moved on because...
Yeah, no, I mean, that was probably a factor. I would say it's not, because I didn't really have any the week leading up to it. I don't know how long it stays in or whatever. And to me, that seems like a stupid cop-out when all the things I said before don't change. I don't push myself nearly as hard as I could while I'm training, and I'd never do anything outside of just rolling to improve those things. I have noticed when I get on like a tear of a lot of ice cream over a good stretch that, I get exhausted real fast in class, but that wasn't what happened.
Yeah, and I'll go back, because I eat pretty clean all the time, right? But
Except Saturday nights.
But whenever I go out and have a drink or 6 too many,
Yeah.
and then train the next day, because I do punish myself by training the next day because I want to make sure I realize what misery that is.
Yeah.
Whenever you do it.
You're consistent with it.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. That's why Sunday rolls is at 1. But I notice my cardio's crap, and that's just from one night of, overindulgence, and that's, it just makes you think, how much is there to that,
It definitely does, and at the same time, if you're gonna get attacked on the street and it's like, you're gonna never eat ice cream again because you can't be tired for that self-defense scenario. That's not realistic either, but that's probably a ridiculous extreme example.
Sure.
But trying to eat well the majority of the time, because I have my own issues that I need to deal with, where I pay for it dearly if I don't eat what I'm supposed to.
Sure.
So I do try to stay eating good 99% of the time anyway. But I mean, it might have played a little factor, but that's gonna come down. Everybody's different on that, but the biggest takeaways I have is that I don't certain people train really hard all the time, and you notice it and you can tell.
Yeah.
You shared an article, I think it was last night, about that, where it's like, if you're just going to train hard, that's fine. That's certain people, I know who that's talking about, and it's almost like, you can appreciate that. I know what to expect every time I roll with this person. They're going to go hard, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't do that.
And
what if I did?
By the way, the article that was posted last night on the BJJ Campaign podcast group If you're not a member, get in there. It's open to everyone. But the leader of SBG, and I can't remember his name right now, but he's been a black belt for like 18 years. He talked about the difference between rolling rough and rolling hard.
Right.
And the necessity of making sure that if you're rolling hard, you make sure to alert your training partner and make sure that they're not injured or anything like that. And he definitely made that distinction of rolling, if you're rolling hard, that's great. Just make sure everybody's on the board. And conversely, if you say, hey, let's flow roll, and then turn the dial up to 11, and, whenever somebody gets you in a bad spot, that's not really cool either. It's not really a cool way to roll either. So yeah, I thought he brought up I think it was 3 points that he brought up. And
he also talked, I don't know if I wanted to go on that, so I wasn't going to go into that. But with the hard rolling thing, he had the good point of don't quit. Like, just all of a sudden somebody gets the advantageous position, passes your guard or whatever, don't just roll over and die. And I do agree with that. That kind of goes back to the same thing I said before. When people do pass the guard, when they get in side control, I get in that bad position, I go into like an energy conserving thing.
Sure, me too.
Me thrashing around has never been a good recipe.
It's never been a good recipe for anyone.
There's certain...
His name's Matt Thornton, by the way.
Okay.
Just remember
there are certain people who are big enough to get away with being able to throw people around and just bench press. That ain't me and never going to be me. So that's why I always go into like an energy conserving mindset. Having said that doesn't mean I have to not do anything, and there are times I don't do anything and I literally just wait for them to do something to try to time it. And that's, I think, okay in certain applications. When there's 30 seconds left and I need to do something and I need to have the cardio to get out, it's not okay, obviously. So just taking those scenarios, keeping it in mind, pushing it, and seeing if I can push myself to do it.
Yeah. And another thing you brought up was one of my favorite ones is, the
coaching.
The coaching when you roll, And he says, and by the way, he says, it's fine, if you're an upper belt and they're going to lower belt, it's fine to coach when you roll. But what's not cool is whenever they actually gain a position on you and then you, like, coach them through, I don't know.
Here's another question unrelated to that. The other side. There's been times, like a white belt or something has caught the position on me and they're struggling to finish it. How do you feel about, like, when I can see them about to quit, being like, no, don't quit on that? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, no, I think that's good advice, right?
Because, I'm fighting it off.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
They have it. They just haven't, like...
Yeah, no. I think that if they quit on it, go say, like, hey, go back to that. Tighten your head or whatever. I think that's perfectly acceptable. I think what he was saying is that...
I know what he was saying about...
Don't be that dick that...
Like, all of a sudden they pass your guard and they're like, yeah, go ahead now. Finish the choke.
Yeah. That's silly. That's silly. But yeah, there's all kinds of scenarios whenever you get into that, and just don't be that guy rolling or girl rolling. I think
that was a cool article, though. That reminded me of it and talking about that stuff.
Yeah, very good article. Very good. I really appreciated that. He was on BJJ Brick podcast a few episodes ago. He really, really highly recommend if you listen to another Jiu-Jitsu podcast. BJJ Brick is a great Jiu-Jitsu podcast, and it's Matt Thornton, and I can't remember which episode it was, but it was like within the last 3 or 4 weeks that he was on there. It was really, really good. Anything else, Phil?
I think that was pretty much the list there with the no-gi stuff.
Yeah. Well, tell the folks, if they wish to, how to support us.
T-shirts and patches. And I'm not going to say this is what happened, but the second match came down to a ref decision. I had a BJJ Campaign patch. He didn't. I won the decision. That's all I'm saying.
Coincidence?
So
I think not.
The patches and shirts are available on the website, bjjcampaignpodcast.com. There are cool articles that Jeff shares on the Facebook group. Facebook.com/BJJ Campaign Podcast should take you to the group. I have gotten a few requests to join because it was a private group initially it's been opened up publicly, so just send one of us a message if you try to join and it makes you fill something out and you don't get in right away, because I know a lot of people have joined, but I've gotten one or two requests to join that shouldn't be there. So just let me know if you find something, and follow the Instagram and YouTube BJJ Campaign Podcast.
Very good. And if you're not out there doing something to make yourself better each and every day, get out there and do it. Phil and I choose Jiu-Jitsu. We hope you do too.
I'm about to feed him to the sharks right now. Get him hype right now. Yeah. You know the ground is up. Yeah. Everybody that trains, you know the game. Yeah. So let's get it. Slap it up, bump it, and roll. Hey. Yeah, that's the way that it goes. Ain't no better way to better yourself in this game. You're feeling the growth. That's time on the mat. We put in the work. Believe it ain't easy, I know. But we train for the love of the game, the love of the art. Now slap it up, bump it, let's roll.